Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Tri-F Podcast, where we try not to have the podcast up. I'm Gary Varner, right from Mind Matters News, and with me are Turtle Chief and Cody. How are you guys this evening?
Hi.
What's up?
We're good.
Good?
How are you?
I'm all right. I can't complain. So, what we're doing now is earlier in the week, I did a reaction video to the first portion of the congressional hearing on UAPs, or UFOs. Didn't finish it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because I wanted to see you guys' reaction to this video as well. I have maintained that this thing is going to be a giant waste of time, and they're just teasing everybody probably because the Biden administration did something illegal. And so far, I have not been proven wrong, but we'll see how that goes. So are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Ready like pretty.
Sweet.
Oh, wait, that's not pretty. Sorry.
Out there. We're not the only country that might have access to it. We don't want to be on the wrong end of technological surprise.
Okay. Thank
You
you
have
guys
to come
for
up a little bit.
Turn it up. All right.
All right. Thank you. I will now recognize Mr. Garcia for
How's
5
that?
minutes.
Thank you. And I apologize for stepping out. My governor is here upstairs, so I'm trying to get in between meetings, so apologize for that. I want to just start by just asking everyone on the panel or witnesses, and I had a chance to read all the testimony before, but just to set the agenda, just if we can go down real briefly, do you believe, just for the record, that the federal government, any part of the federal government, is knowingly concealing evidence about UAPs from the public?
Yes, sir.
100%.
In other news,
Yes.
water is wet.
Yes. Thank you. I also want to just go down the line. I know many of you have already said this, but I just for the record again, just briefly, what do you believe UAPs could be or are?
Strong evidence that they are non-human, higher intelligence.
I echo my colleague's comment, sir.
Non-human higher intelligence.
That's it.
You think?
That's it. Yes, guys, there are UFOs, and there might be aliens on them.
So,
What
do you
else
think
is new?
do you think that these guys actually believe this, or do you think that they are aware that it's exposing the sleight of hand?
This is just my opinion. I can't prove it. I think 3 of them believe it and are being used as stooges. I think the second guy from the left is an anti-espionage guy, or he's a bad actor for the government. That's my opinion, because he's worked for the CIA. He said he worked in anti-espionage. That was the term he used. And he also made this comment about how, I can't tell you more, guys, because I signed a document. I can't show you the document because it's on a brig, but I signed it, and it means I can't tell you guys this particular thing. But I can tell you other particular things because, I'm on the up and up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know about the other 3. I suspect they believe it, but they're just being spoon-fed whatever the government wants to say. But that guy, I'm pretty sure, is a bad actor.
Okay.
They're all bad actors.
No, we can't say about everybody.
Obama's a great actor, and so is Trump.
Oh, stop it. All right, we ready to move on?
Genuinely do not know.
Don't know,
don't
but
know.
we must find out. Okay, thank you.
Ah, no
I
kidding.
appreciate those answers, gentlemen. I think this is obviously another remarkable hearing with just really important information, so I thank all of you for answering the questions. Admiral, I just want to go back to one thing. Now, last year, our subcommittee heard from 2 retired Navy pilots, Lieutenant Ryan Graves and Commander David Trevor, regarding UAPs. Actually, I think Ryan is here in the audience and been a great person to get to know and to have conversations with. He, of course, has been involved in the Safe Airspace for Americans Act with Chairman Graves, with Chairwoman Mace for UAP reporting by civilian aviation personnel. Can you discuss briefly why it's important for civilian pilots to be able to report UAPs and why these legal protections are critical for our national security?
Yes,
you
Congressman,
repeat
thank
that?
you. And I did invite Ryan Graves as my
Sorry, what?
What did he just say?
I have no idea.
Nobody cares.
It's politicians speak for men. So, yeah. We'll see.
Yes, as I'm on his advisory board for the Americans for Safe Aerospace, and the legislation that you supported and introduced, I fully support as well. And I think it's important that more civilian pilots, commercial pilots report so we can better understand and learn and do research on UAP, as well as remove the stigma so more citizens report on what they observe. And also, it'll only contribute to aviation safety when we have a better understanding of where these UAP are, how they operate, and at what frequency and what capability level. So it's important for aviation safety, and it'll be important for moving science and research forward.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to reiterate to my colleagues, I mean, this is a very bipartisan piece of legislation, and we just got to continue to get this through the Congress, and it's incredibly important that civilian pilot.
Yeah, what's up?
It literally sounds like they're just repeating what they've always been saying.
Yeah, we've been here
It's
for
just-
2 hours.
It's like we're gonna read what we've already said over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same talking points from like the 60s.
Yeah, it's like
makes me think it's a government
And
op.
the David Favor thing, that was on Joe Rogan. That was popular on Joe Rogan like 8 years ago.
Right.
yeah.
Like it's just the same shit over and over and over.
Yeah, they just talked about it last year too, I believe, in this thing. But
Yeah.
there's no. That's the thing is, it was kind of a big deal the first time because they had the David Favor thing actually before Congress, and it was like an official government hearing over the whole deal. But now there's been like literally nothing new. No new pilots, no new stories, no new information whatsoever. Just disclosure is important. Important is disclosure.
This guy's like, why aren't all the pilots reporting the UFOs?
Yeah.
Do you think they're like hiding it, or?
Yeah, they are. You just keep ignoring them.
Continue.
Have the opportunity to safely report the UAPs that they are seeing or encountering in the air. And I can't express how critical this piece of what I believe is a larger collection of evidence and facts actually happened. We've been approached by pilots. I've talked to folks that have been engaged with our office and others, and there is still enormous stigma. And essentially, we don't have a system where folks are feeling free to be able to report what they're seeing. And so I just want to reiterate that advocacy. Mr. Gold, in your testimony, you discuss NASA's aviation safety reporting system, a confidential, non-punitive reporting mechanism. In the Safe Airspace for Americans Act, we explicitly allow for civilian reporting, of course, of UAPs. Can you explain why the NASA task force recommended the use of the aviation safety reporting system?
The aviation safety reporting system is an existing system that is trusted, that has taken hundreds of thousands, now millions of cases. And again, recognizing budgetary constraints, this seemed like the perfect way to be able to gain more data. And when it comes to the stigma, sir, it's something that pilots are used to reporting on, that crew is used to reporting on. So it's a great way to get data, to overcome the stigma without spending really that much more additional money since the system exists. Thank you so much for your support of that. Thank you for what Ryan Graves does. This is a common sense means to expose the truth of UAP for the purpose of this hearing.
Thank you. And I just want to also...
He read that like a high schooler. But sorry, Cody, go on.
So the ASRS, is that right?
I missed the acronym. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think that's what it was. But so is that what this legislation is for, to try to get that system implemented?
I don't know. It sounds like an ad for a bill.
this?
Like they said.
Yeah, this guy said he wanted to push the legislation through to Congress.
Yeah. So
What's it for?
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the point of this is. They said they were going to disclose information about aliens, but there's been nothing disclosed. It's kind of just been this kind of repetition over and over again.
Well, this guy, he said he wanted to use the ASRS system, which is already something that pilots and stuff are used to using to report things on. And he said he wanted to use that for UAP disclosing.
They need a bill for Congress for that?
Apparently.
They need a bill
crazy.
for Congress to get the right toilet paper that goes in the White House.
That's right. You can't do anything about signing a piece of paper.
And earlier this year, as part of the House Defense Authorization Bill, the NDAA, I filed an amendment to include the UAP Disclosure Act, which would create a UAP Records Review Board and exercise with exercise of eminent domain over UAP-related material, modeled actually on the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act, which is widely known. Now, the amendment was blocked, but thankfully the Senate included the amendment by Senator Rounds and Schumer for the UAP Disclosure Act. So I just again want to say that we should be pushing and ensuring the UAP Disclosure Act, which is bipartisan in its support, should move forward. And if I can just briefly, particularly Admiral, can you just briefly, as I close my time, explain why the UAP Disclosure Act would be critical for us and our national security?
Thank you, Congressman. Yes, I believe the UAP Disclosure Act is important for national security, as well as advancing potential socioeconomic benefits resulting from UAP research, as well as public safety, as we referred to previously regarding aviation. And this act will allow for greater transparency and open research.
Yeah, what's up?
He said it was for economic benefits.
Yeah,
how does reporting UFOs give economic benefit?
All
like
right.
you sell alien plushies at Walmart? Is that what you're talking about?
I actually know the answer to this question. So Bob Lazar and different people over the years,
geez.
I know, they believe that these aliens are using a different type of propulsion system. So rather than I guess using propulsion, they're using some kind of way to bend gravity or space-time to get from one place to the other. So if there's another kind of energy source these things are using, or if they figured out to travel some other way, you could make commercial vehicles that travel in a similar manner and, travel space or something like that. And if you privatize that, then you've got an economic benefit. So,
Okay.
but the government would actually let us use that information if they ever figured out how it worked.
No, because then we'll figure out how it works.
Yeah.
Like the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Sorry, that's just what popped in my head.
numbers, business. Business numbers, words.
Yep.
All right.
Research, and that's why I'm also a member of the UAP Disclosure Fund as an advisor, as in the Soul
I'll be right
Foundation,
back.
as an advisor, senior strategic advisor, which is advocating for the same.
Thank you very much. I yield back.
All right, thank you. I'd like to recognize Mr. Biggs for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for holding this committee. Thank you to the witnesses. Admiral, the video that is called the Go Fast video, the email that you've talked about being deleted, I just want to briefly cover this. You said that the email, the author was asking whether any of the recipients were aware of the classified technology demonstrations that it could explain the objects that were observed. And then you said the email disappears. Then you guys have a series of meetings. The commander of fleet forces and his operations officer never discussed the incident again. Is that right? Is that accurate?
That's accurate, sir.
And even during weekly meetings, it was never discussed again. My question for you is, you were in those meetings. Did you personally hear that nothing was going on about that?
Yes, sir. I was in those meetings, and
did you make inquiries about that?
no, I did not, sir, because
Gary, you
I
muted
inferred, since I had been read into other special access programs, that this UAP video was part of one that I was not read into, or any of the recipients, or the author of the email, and that an intelligence agency basically pulled it back and instructed the author of the email, hey, this is, you just conducted what they call spillage into a lower classification level. And when that's done, the procedures are basically to remove any of the communication.
You're going to silo it. So, Mr. Elizondo, you said in your report and your testimony today, a government work on the UAP subject still remains classified. Excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. Fair?
Yes, sir.
All right. And all of you, and Mr. Schellenberger, by the way, I've read several.
See, I'm not sure, because that's the whole problem with this is, yeah, they're
It's not
ships,
actually
but we
fair.
don't know if they're aliens. We don't know what they are. They could be somebody else figured out how to work ships that we don't know how to. We haven't figured out their technology. So That, or this is what I think. This is kind of my crazy theory.
The Egyptians figured it out.
No, I think it was the Atlanteans.
Or that one.
Yeah, because was it Plato? One of those historians, Plato, his Herodotus, I don't remember. One of those Greek historians talks about there being this ancient civilization that basically blew itself up with its own technology. So I'm thinking they may have uncovered some of this craft from that time, and they may have figured out how to replicate it, and they don't want to tell anybody. That's my theory.
So what you're saying is, I think it was Disney, Atlantis, the cartoon.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like they had this crystal thing and they had their own energy source and all this and that, but it was also self-destructive. That's based on a historical account.
Right.
But this would be another example of literary criticism. Now, the complicated thing about the Greek history is it's kind of mixed in with the Greek gods. Like they put their own lore into the history, but the history is meant to be read literally. Like it's not allegory or anything like that. So the guy was claiming that the civilization actually existed. And so I think they found out what these guys had and they've been copying it. And it's probably maybe using energy or somehow it's like closer akin to Tesla's theories or some other guy's theories. And they don't want to talk about it. So, that's my opinion. I don't think there's really, there might be aliens, maybe, but there's been some footage, particularly one video I put up on Twitter that I find compelling. So there may be aliens, but I'm kind of leaning more towards they want to protect the tech. They're not worried about humanity panicking over not being alone in the universe. Otherwise, there wouldn't be Project Bluebeam, which is we're going to distract people with a fake alien invasion at some point. From what I understand, that's an actual thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would be worried about people discovering if there's aliens. I think they're trying to guard the tech.
They want people to think that. They tricked Bob Lazar into thinking there was real aliens.
Mm-hmm. That's actually might be quite possible. They may very well have done that.
I'm going to have to look into this Bob Lazar.
Bob
Never
Lazar.
heard of
it's
him.
Fascinating. The theory he uses to describe.
He's a buffoon.
Dude, he had one detail that was really compelling. When he brought up element 115 back in the 90s, it didn't exist. Yeah. They've proven element 115 exists now. Just a few years ago, they put together that element is actually real. So he was telling the truth about the element, at least.
Is that the element that Iron Man came up with?
No.
Oh.
No.
Sorry.
It's all right. No, it's this element that he said enabled the ships to basically bend, I think it was gravity. And so they could travel really quickly because it's like once you don't have gravity, then space-time kind of warps or something like that. And so, which makes sense because light and time are synonymous. And if you could bend light, then in theory you could bend time. And if you can create a bubble of gravity where you can just zip through all the light, it's plausible based on what little we know about physics or what little I understand of physics. Maybe if you had a source that could do that. But he also had a really interesting point that I liked because people are always talking about how these aliens are like technologically advanced by thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And he said, no, not really. But if they had different elements, they could come up with different tech. So it might not be that they're more advanced than us. They just have different materials and can do different things.
That's how it is, bro.
So they're always taking shrooms.
Like, look, in the 1800s is the same concept you're just talking about. In the 1800s, if you go and look at old pictures, I think essentially the wealthy of the 1800s, the late 1800s, instead of yachts, had airships.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. There's tons of pictures of them. Like the Seattle Needle, is that right? The Sky Needle,
Space Needle, yeah.
So it's a blimp docking station.
I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, look at pictures of it.
Look
up blimp docking stations or airship docking stations.
Well, I guess that ended with what was it, the Hindenburg?
Well, yeah, that was the op to make everybody think they were super dangerous.
Oh, it was an op.
Yeah.
Oh, do tell.
So-
I haven't heard this before.
So basically, this is the same time as all the nuclear stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We had allegedly you can make helium with radium. That's like how you make helium.
Okay.
I'm not sure past that how, but that's how you make helium. And so whenever they had to get rid of radium and make everybody think it was scary and dangerous because people figured out how to use it to make helium and free energy.
Ah.
And so, because like you get in a blimp, dude, you can just float wherever you want to go.
Yeah. Oh, they were
You can go
terrifying. You see those
wherever.
pictures of them in World War One, just kind of hanging over battlefields or something?
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah, you could just
terrifying.
go anywhere,
Yeah.
forever, indefinitely.
Yeah.
So obviously the powers that be don't want that. They don't want you to travel freely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's the whole thing, man. They made everybody think radium was super dangerous and radiation would kill you. And
Where did you like hear about this? I'm interested.
I can't even tell you. I don't know.
I have to look that up. So how would I Google that? Was it Hindenburg was a false flag?
Just look up popularity of airships. I don't know. Start there.
Okay.
In the 1800s.
Flag. Popularity of airships. Excuse me while I write that.
Sure. I mean, there's
Okay.
there's tons out there about airships. I mean, the world. How do you think everybody got to the world fairs, man?
That's a good point. Yeah, no, I
They
remember
walked.
that. I remember they got pretty big in World War One. I remember that they did some stuff with those blimps back during the war. I don't remember what all they did, but I think they decided not to use them because it was too easy to shoot them down or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I played a game where you got to shoot one down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You would think they'd be able to come up with a thicker material to keep that from happening very often.
Well, it's a balloon.
Yeah.
It
It's
goes
gotta
pop.
float.
Hmm.
The heaviest thing you could do is be like light aluminum, and I don't know how you would seal it.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it would depend on the volume of helium, too. Like,
It'd have to be a bunch if it was steel thick enough to stop a bullet.
well, I'm not talking about stopping a bullet. I'm just talking about like a bird flying through it or something.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, you would. Yeah, I mean, a bulletproof blimp. Yeah, that would be hard.
Sounds like a submarine to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Wouldn't be a blimp for very long.
Trevor, you got any thoughts before we go on? Trevor,
Huh?
do you have any thoughts before we go on?
No, sorry.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on then. We're going to switch back.
Several of your books, Mr. Schellenberg, excellent stuff. What I would say, too, is you were asked about the veracity of the author of this report. You comfortable with the veracity?
Yes.
Okay. And then, and I'll get to you in a second, Mr. Gold. We'll talk about Kuhnian and Lakatoshian scientific advancement and how we're obviating that through these processes. But we'll get to that in a sec. Because what I want to really get to is the ultimate question it really becomes this. For what purpose is the federal government overclassifying, because that's what they're doing, they're overclassifying, and forbidding the public for getting access to this? And if you know, if you have an explanation, I'm curious because I know what I've been told. I just want to know from your perspective, why do they overclassify? Mr. Elizondo, you look like your finger on the button ready to go.
Yes, sir. Forgive me. I think there's several reasons. I think at the time when this reality became evident to the U.S. government, we were in the middle of the Cold War with then Soviet Union, and we did not want to tip our hands to what our knowledge base was on this topic. We did not want to broadcast that to
The Cold War is long over.
It is, sir. It is, sir. There's also then the philosophical
50
argument
years.
that the Department of Defense and the intelligence community
not
is
that cold
solution oriented,
anymore.
and when you don't.
Trevor.
Sorry.
It's not even cold anymore. What do you mean a Cold War? Bunch of idiots.
It's been summer for like 4 months. What do you mean?
Anyway.
Trevor really knows
answers.
how to
It's a
put
really
in his opinion.
Yeah. It was very insightful.
Isn't he still leading the country?
Yeah.
Where's that Reagan guy? I haven't heard from him in a while.
Tear down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev.
tough spot to be in.
It's easier to be quiet and suppressed than if you don't have the answer.
Indeed, sir. In fact, there's a very real example when we built the U-2 spy plane and flew it over then Russia, and we're taking reconnaissance. And when we first started flying the aircraft, it flew so high and so fast we thought they weren't tracking us. In reality, they were tracking every flight. It wasn't until the Russians could develop the SA-2 surface-to-air missile and successfully shoot it down.
I would suggest to you also, along with Lakatos and Kuhn, you also have a problem with Kenneth Arrow's path dependence or increasing returns. That's one reason why they won't disclose it. It's too painful to admit. But I just want to read a couple things from Mr. Schellenberger's what he gave to us today, because I think this is interesting stuff, and I just want to convey this to you. On USG networks, there exists infrared footage of and imagery of a grouping of vessels engaged in SIGINT and massive collection at night in a specific area of the Pacific Ocean. This footage, which was in close proximity to the vessels, a large equilateral triangle UAP suddenly appears directly over the ships. These three bright points are seen at each bottom corner of the UAP, which is observed to slowly rotate on its horizontal axis. And he goes on to describe that. And I just want to read one more, and I'm doing this because I think it's interesting. This stuff is interesting as anything. So let's get this one here, right here. While performing a routine airspace surveillance and control mission in the Eastern Air Defense Sector, an F-22 fighter observed multiple UAP contacts at mission altitude. Moving to intercept, the F-22 pilot noted multiple metallic orbs slightly smaller than a sedan hovering in place. Upon vectoring towards the UAPs, a smaller formation of the metallic orbs accelerated at rapid speed towards the F-22, which was unable to establish radar locks on the presumed hostile UAPs. The F-22 broke trajectory and attempted to evade, but was intercepted and boxed in by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs. And then I'll leave that there, but because I just have no more time left. Well, she's not looking. So let's just get into, let's get into part of this.
I thought I would be saved by the bell.
No. Let's talk about Kuhnian, Lakatoshian type of scientific development. And the problem that we have here is you have institutional blockage of what would be normal development of scientific ideas. And if you want to expand that, Mr. Gold.
We're over time, so be very fast, please.
I'll just say I'm a recovering attorney, so please take it easy on the science. But all breakthroughs have been heretical at first.
We're getting into
and
the
that's the
science
challenge
of
that we
it,
face, particularly with something.
Sorry?
We're getting into the science of it. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I missed that.
Oh, you asked a relevant question. It's not your turn anymore, sir.
Yeah, moving on. Yeah.
Extraordinary is this, which is why gathering the data is so important. And I'll just end by saying, by the way, the overclassification of material is in no way limited to UAP. That is occurring throughout the government, as well as the inability to get people classifications in a timely and efficient manner, and then to have those classifications be broad enough to be useful. So this is a larger issue that I hope that Congress will.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Biggs. I've been generous.
Pause it.
All right, Mr. Burleson.
Yes, what's up?
You know, I was just talking about the blocking of, like 3 UAPs around aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen videos of that. It's really neat. It's like basically what looks like in the videos is 3 different they're the smaller orb type UAPs.
Yeah.
And it basically looks like from a distance that you got 3 what are they called?
UAPs?
No, anybody can use them. They're drones.
Drones, okay.
They basically look like 3 drones.
I think a lot of these are drones because I think this is tied into Blue Beam.
The little circle ones, the little circle drones, it looks like those.
Yeah. I think some of this stuff is real, but I think a lot of it's the government just trying to kick up dirt.
But they look like, the normal drones that we can use.
Really?
Keeping up with a fighter pilot, that's what I think he was talking about. And I've actually seen a video of that. I couldn't pull it up for you. I'd have to look for it.
There's no drone keeping up with an F-22 though.
No, there's no way. But I think that's the UAP they were talking about.
Well, let's just ask that question. Like, okay, what would keep a drone from keeping up with an F-22? Like, do they absolutely have to have a pilot, or is it just the fuel itself that makes the speed?
No, I mean, the plane goes off jet propulsion. A drone is like a helicopter, so like they're totally different things.
So you don't think we could make a drone using propulsion? I don't know.
I don't.
Well, you could make.
I've never seen one.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
we could make a drone do that, but I don't know if it's going to keep up with a fighter pilot. There's no way.
The idea of having the idea of UFOs that run off of magnetism makes way more sense than drones.
That's an interesting idea. Magnetism.
Well, the crazy part in the video, and this video could have been easily faked, was the 3 drones were moving around the fighter pilot.
Yeah, they move in a vortex all the time.
That's interesting.
Magnetic.
It was crazy.
Cody, what do you know about the magnetism as an alternative source of energy? Because I've seen videos of people doing small experiments with it, and it seems plausible, but my question would be, how much horsepower can you get with a magnetic field?
All of it. I mean, it's figuring out everything has polarity. So if you can find what repels that polarity, I mean, you just work off that idea. I mean, like a magnet. So if you take like a copper pipe and drop a magnet through it, it goes, right? It doesn't fall. It just goes real slow. So like there's different materials and stuff like you were talking about earlier, different elements that react different ways. I don't know, the idea of a UFO that I've seen, like from old pictures, like old military pictures, you have a guy sitting in the center of a round thing, and the outer ring spins around him really fast, and I think that makes like a magnetic vortex under him and creates lift. So I mean, it's like a magnet repelling itself off of another magnet. That's how fast you go.
Yeah. Well, I saw an interesting video where somebody had, it was a real primitive, but it's like basically a water wheel with a bunch of spokes on it with magnets at the end. And then they'd put magnets around this water wheel, and the magnets spinned indefinitely, and they kept spinning. So it was like I just kept turning. I was like, could you use a force like that to turn an axle and then in turn wheels? Would it have enough strength to actually turn that rotation? Would it have enough strength to turn a bunch of moving parts the same way that I guess
just big gear reduction.
Yeah. So I was kind of my first thought. I just don't know how strong the magnetic fields are and how much they can actually move. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
depends on
curious.
the amount of electricity and the substance traveling through it.
Yeah. Okay. Trevor, you got any thoughts, man?
No.
No. Okay. What about you, Cody? You got anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
So you think maybe that these ships or these guys have figured out how to use magnetism?
Yeah, that's my opinion.
That makes sense. I find that very plausible because for the life of me, I've never understood why we don't use magnets more and why they're not talked about very much.
Because they don't want us to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. That sounds a little better than my Atlantean theory.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to give it up entirely, but I think there's some plausibility to that idea. I like that.
I mean, they could be inextricably linked, my friend.
That's true. That's true.
Why would God? I mean, I don't know. You think God could have gave us that info about how magnets work back in the very beginning?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I told Trevor this in one of the earlier episodes. I said, if Adam and Eve hadn't fell, I think we'd probably be on Mars by now. We'd be naked, but we'd be on Mars.
We'd be way past Mars.
Yeah, or wherever. I feel like the falls kind of hindered progress, if anything. So.
I mean, I think that's the idea of the fall, isn't it?
Yeah, like it just screwed everything up. So anyway, we'll go. Actually, hold on. It's been about 35 minutes, so I think we're done with this episode. All right, guys, we're gonna cut it off, and then we'll do one more on this thing. Thank you very much for watching.
Come back and see us, y'all.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
If you're lucky.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.